Hey, John, the Contractor Growth Guy here. I want to talk about why it is that service businesses, contracting businesses often hit a ceiling. If you've been in business for any length of time, you've probably experienced this. You work hard, you get more customers, you sell more jobs, revenue increases, but eventually something strange happens. Growth starts slowing down, not because there isn't demand, not because there aren't customers, not because there aren't opportunities, but because you've hit a ceiling. And most service businesses eventually do. And here's the reason why. A retail business, if it's selling widgets, it can grow by selling more widgets. If it sells 100 widgets this month, maybe they can sell 200 next month and grow to 500 and 1,000. It really doesn't take a whole lot more time to do that. But service businesses are different. Service businesses are heavily dependent on time available and also people available. Time is limited. People are limited too, but time is limited. Let's talk about that. There are only 168 hours in a week. You only have so many hours available to estimate jobs, to answer calls, to manage crews, to solve problems, and to actually produce the work. And if you're like many contractors, you're wearing multiple hats a day. You're the salesperson, the estimator, the project manager, the customer service department, the purchasing department, collections department, everything and sometimes you're still swinging a hammer at the same time. Eventually, all of those responsibilities start competing with the same limited resource, and that is your time. That's when growth begins to slow. I was on a call with a contractor in the southern United States just a number of weeks ago now, and they said that they wanted to grow and double their business next year. And I said, well, how many hours a week are you working right now? And he said 80. I said, do you see a problem with growing your business? You want to double your business. Are you intending to bring in more help? He said, well, no, I can't afford more help. Well, how would you double your business? He's physically doing the actual work. To double your business, you'd have to double your time investment or bring in more people, which means scaling. You see the problem? He wasn't prepared to double his, how could he possibly double his sales? He wouldn't be able to produce the work. It'd be the biggest disaster ever. He wasn't able to scale his business, okay? So that's when growth begins to slow. Now, most business owners think they need more leads. They think they maybe need more employees. They need better marketing. Sometimes those things all help and they're part of it, but the real issue is deeper than that, and it's actually simpler than that. The owner himself has become the bottleneck. The business can't grow beyond the owner's capacity because the owner's involved in far too much. He's not delegating enough. He hasn't systemized his business and he can't delegate it out to other people. So he has to be involved in every decision, every estimate, every problem, every customer interaction. Everything flows through one person. And that creates a ceiling. Now here's the important part. This isn't criticism. In fact, it's usually a sign that you've built something very valuable. The business has grown to the point where the way you operated when you were smaller no longer works. What got you here won't necessarily get you there. At some point, growth requires a different approach, a different mindset, different systems, different processes, and a willingness really to stop doing everything yourself. This is what we're talking about is scaling your business. Because if every important function in the company depends on one person, growth eventually is limited to that person's schedule and that person's time. The goal isn't to become less involved. The goal is to become involved in the right things. The businesses that continue growing are often the ones that find ways to create capacity. More capacity in their operations, more capacity in their leadership, more capacity in their systems, more capacity in their people. If you feel like your business has hit that ceiling, don't automatically assume that the problem is lack of demand. You might not be able to handle the extra demand. You may simply be running into the natural limits of a service business that has outgrown the way it was originally built. Thanks for watching. Again, John the Contractor Growth Guy. If you'd like more practical business training for contractors, you can find it here. Subscribe to our channel and also check us out on Instagram at the Contractor Growth Guy.